I recently tried to sign up for this Cartoon Action Hour RPG, and it got me to thinking about how communists relate to liberals and to Greens and to anarchists, etc., about how we fight this corporate machine. And it transcends just a corporate machine. I mean, it comes down to everything. And a good friend of mine, Malice Rebel, he does not like liberals. I mean, he thinks that they are the most reactionary sort and that they are more counterproductive than they are helpful to Marxism. And he might be right. But I look at it a lot like a Saturday morning cartoon. If you were around in the 90s or 80s, you probably remember that when you think about it, every cartoon had a left-wing slant to it. It was either anti-corporation. I mean, look back at like Bots Masters or any old cartoon, and it was always a cyberpunk where a transnational corporation controlled everything. There was no actual government. There was no legislation. There was no accountability. It was simply an oligarchy of these corporate rulers dictating the lives of others and of production. Then you had some green, pro-environment crap in between. Sonic the Hedgehog is completely based around the idea of Luddites versus technocracy. And then you had Captain Planet, which was much more blatant. And then you have the liberal side, where there was all sorts of cartoons giving this message of not to judge people, not to, be mean to someone just because of the color of their skin or whatever. And it came down to love and tolerance, green, and Marxism. And unfortunately, we as a society in the West have clinged to the love and tolerance side and have completely forgotten about the other two. I mean, occasionally you get the green people, but in general, it's a pretty dominant culture of love and tolerance. But meanwhile, there's no backing toward it. There's no real incentive for it, and there is no leadership, I guess you could say. I don't want to say leadership as in you need a certain person to lead you, but what I mean is there is no drive. There is no philosophical certainty that what you are doing is right. What you have developed into is moral relativism, and you've completely forgotten about why you're doing it to begin with. The point is, people should not be treated differently. People should not be treated badly and be allowed to be treated badly just because somebody else wants to. And the people you gotta worry about treating you badly usually are not just random strangers on the street judging you because you're black or judging you because you're Muslim. It's people that are either organized and can affect the political structure because of their organization, or it's, people that are in your personal life that are very important to you, and everything they do subjugates you to their standards, and you have to abide by them, or you're shamed, or, you just feel bad. People have a lot of emotional control over you, whether it be personally or impersonally. And what I'm saying is that liberalism has forgotten why it's doing what it's doing. We're not trying to, end the institution of marriage because, somehow gays are being discriminated against because of it. That's a small part of it. What it's about is the institution of marriage is wrong. It is wrong, this idea that we need to somehow be permitted to have a relationship, and that somehow our relationships are more legitimate just because we have a little document that says we're a relationship. It's wrong the fact that we compel people to be in relationships, knowing how emotionally destructive they tend to be, and how easily it is for sociopaths to take advantage of our goodwill and our love and caring for another individual. Those are reasons to, hit back against the cultural norms. Those are the reasons to be liberal, but people don't seem to understand that. I do think that liberalism and Greens are a good weapon against the corporate elite, or whatever elite you want to call them, but they've weakened themselves willfully. They have purposely weakened themselves and compromised every step of the way to try to adapt and try to be considered more legitimate and more moderate, so that people will not judge them and that they can get into the political arena without any kind of mockery. And that's why now you don't get shit done, because you've forgotten why you do it and you've forgotten your drive, and essentially you've just become the right wing. You know, maybe do you think it's really left-wing to subsidize green businesses and give money to other corporate elites so that they can build renewable energy sources, diesel fuel car engines, and things like that, and then they can be rich and powerful and then dictate the course of society? Is that any better than the oil and coal industry running everything? Is that any better than the banking cartel running everything? Is that any better than the creditors or insurance companies running everything? Maybe it is a little better, because then at least then we have reliable energy source, cheap energy source, if they let us. Who's to say they won't charge a fortune for something that's very easy to produce and produce in infinitum? You know, like let's say all the cars in the world were solar powered, and that we don't need gas anymore, and that we can just get our energy from the sun, and we never have to buy fuel again, and everyone can just drive wherever they want to, as much as they want to, free from ever having to stop at a gas station. Well, that sounds good on paper, but if you allow corporations to continue to control the sector, they're going to sabotage it somehow. Either they're going to change the economy to where it's a rental-based system, and you never really have a car, you're renting a car, and they can take it away from you anytime they want, just like they do with fucking video games. Or they're going to do like the computer industry and purposely make it flawed and faulty and jam up. That way you have to buy new diesel engines or solar panels or whatever the fuck every couple of months, years, whatever, you know, and people will just come to accept it. So cultural liberalism isn't about just, minimizing the pain. It's about actually changing the social demographic. That way things are not the way they are, and that things are not as bad as they are, and that we do not have to put up with this shit. That's what it's about. And the same applies to, egoism. I don't know what to call it. Just green politics, I guess. It's about how we do not want a cultural oligarchy. We do not want a cultural monopoly of corporations deciding the course not only of our spiritual side, but our physical side as well. It's not right that the rich get to, manipulate the planet however they so please, and exploit the soil, exploit the air, exploit the clouds in the sky. It rains when they want it to, we grow food when they want us to, and, that has a very detrimental effect. I don't think I need to tell you that. But, so yeah, I see potential in the liberal and green side. I do not consider them to be the ultra-left. I do not consider them to be the ultimate goal, but I could definitely see them helping in, our fight against all of the negativity, because this transcends just capitalism. This transcends just religion. This transcends just any particular group oppressing another group. It's way more than that. But not everyone is going to wake up to that right away. And because of years of conditioning and Red Scares and all this anti-left-wing rhetoric where, people are just lazy and stupid and want to have dictatorships or some other lie, isn't that kind of something where communists are lazy and stupid and they just don't want to work, but yet at the same time they want a dictatorship forcing them to work? How does that make sense? Why would I be lazy and not want to get up and do things and expect a welfare check if I want a dictatorship to tell me when to turn my grinds and where I work and what I do for a living and what I say and, think? that makes no sense. If I do not want to work, why would I allow myself to be controlled and forced to work? You know, I'm clearly capable of logical conclusions and thinking years in advance of what could happen if I give someone complete control over the political system and let them tell me what I can and cannot do. You know, I'm not retarded. So, you know, that's what I'm trying to say here, is a lot of these leftists might be reactionaries, and they might be even counter-revolutionary. But I'm not going to condemn them, I'm not going to besmirch them, I'm not going to insult them, I'm not going to ridicule them, because, you know what, I need them. We all need them. And whether or not they're right or wrong it's not the point. The point is that we can't afford to draw lines in the sand. We can't afford to close doors on people that want to fight this battle however they see fit. You know, I myself think homosexuality is a disease. It is a disease that plagues the mind and is a symptom to something far bigger than sexual debauchery. I don't care about homosexuals fucking each other up the ass. I care about the character of homosexuals. And in my experience, and from my collected data, homosexuals tend to be sociopaths, they tend to be compulsive liars, they tend to be child molesters, rapists, and just generally bad people. Is that to say all homosexuals are that way? No, but it is clearly a visible symptom to that disease. And it would be like me not caring when someone is coughing in my face and their eyes are all puffy and, you know, they're kind of yellow-skinned and shit. They're clearly sick, and then they're coughing in my face, risking me becoming sick. Now, mind you, homosexuality is not a disease that you can catch, obviously, but society can catch it. It's the sort of disease that affects us politically and philosophically rather than physically. But it's a disease nonetheless. And therefore, I am not in favor of gay rights. But does that mean that I'm going to just shut my door on anyone that is? No. I can't afford to. You know? I can't afford to nitpick at people that make excuses for homosexual behavior. I can't afford to nitpick at people that do not see the terribleness of homosexuality. And, you know, I don't trust homosexuals, but I don't have much of a choice in the matter. So that's how I live my political life. That's how I deal with it, you know. And you know, it's kind of like with an issue I was going to do if I was ever able to collect a government loan. Notice I say government loan because I want to do it with your tax dollars. I would love to build an abortion clinic and on your tax dollars to rub it in your face and only allow homosexuals and moderators to get an abortion at my abortion clinic. And that would piss off everybody. It would piss off the right wing because it's abortion, and it would piss off the left wing because I'm purposely targeting specific people, and it would be eugenics. And how would they react to it? Would they seek to have my abortion clinic closed down? And for what reason? Would they do it because I'm discriminating? Or would they do it because it's abortion? And would that then be leverage to ban all abortion? Or would it then be leverage to ban all discrimination? You know? Either way, someone's gonna win. And hopefully me. You know? And if they ban it because it's discrimination, well then why aren't you coming down against the internet for discriminating against people every single day? Hundreds and thousands of people banned wrongfully just because some internet forum moderator thinks it's okay to. You know? At least my establishment is honest. And at that, isn't it weird how I'm discriminating against people on the positive side? I'm saying you have a choice in reproduction, but I'm only giving that choice to people I want to make the wrong choice, because I want them to not reproduce. And so, you know, I'm working hard to make sure they don't reproduce. That way their genetics do not pass on, and maybe, just maybe, in a few generations, people act like less of douchebags because they don't come from moderator, and homosexual backgrounds. I do think that genetics plays a large portion in your personality. So, that's why I would do that, and I would have no problem with it. I would make it completely visible, and it'd be interesting to see how people react to it. And I have a feeling I know how they would react to it. Oh, they'd make every excuse in the world. They'll think of something to excuse their hypocrisy in condemning me, but somehow it's okay when other people do it. It's okay when other people discriminate, but not Jim Prophet because he's Jim Prophet, So that's why I would want to do it. Because you have to have audacity. You have to be willing to do shit just to do it in order to rub it in their face and force them to think about these things. That would be one of my agendas, one of my goals, to bring to your attention everything. To bring to your attention the very foundation of why you pursue a political end. And that's the problem with people. They want to say they're left-wing or right-wing, they want to say they're capitalists or communists, but they don't want to think about why they do it. They don't think about, how it affects them, how it affects other people, what it means for society's general direction, what it means moral-wise, what is the morality of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And nobody wants to think that in depth, because we have become this society that hates thinking. We hate education. We hate, giving any forethought to something. Everyone that is halfway intelligent is discredited as a smartass or just a pseudo-intellectual. And, we treat them like shit. We treat people like shit for educating themselves and wanting to spread that education further. But yet we reward people for selfish, destructive, psychopathic behavior. That's fucked up. That's the world we live in, and that's just touching the surface. So maybe you should think about that. Rather than condemning someone for not sharing your beliefs, or condemn someone for perverting your beliefs even, and think about how little people actually care about the ultimate ends of their goals, whether they be for good or for bad. So, that's it.